the camera on this one was not working, and the reason I know it was the camera was because the video was coming through on the goggles. I was getting on-screen display, so I know it wasn't my video transmitter itself not sending. It wasn't static. I was actually getting content. It just happened to be a black screen with an OSD over the top. So the things that could be are either the connection from the camera to the OSD chip, right? Because we know that the OSD chip to the VTX and VTX to the goggles is functional. We just confirmed that based on the symptoms of the problem. So we know that it's either power to the camera itself died, or I suppose that's kind of it. It's definitely the camera is the culprit. So one thing that we can do to confirm that I'm correct and that it was just the camera is the problem is plug a different camera into the same exact vehicle. And if we get video and we don't get video with this one, then we know it's an issue. So let's first try and replicate the problem. I'm going to go grab my goggles and we'll try that. Alrighty, so I've got my goggles. I would highly recommend you guys use a screen if you're doing this on the bench. It's just much easier to look up and actually see the result rather than having to grab your goggles and pull them down. But if you only have goggles, that's totally fair too. I'm doing it on the goggles so that I can just pop right up on the screen over here somewhere, a nice view of the DVR so you guys can see live. I think for the video, it'll be better. For me, it'll be kind of more of a pain in the ass, but for you guys, it'll definitely be better, I think. So I will also put a link into the description. I have a little USB receiver that you can plug into your phone, you can plug into your computer to do live streaming, to do whatever it is. I usually carry it in the bag. It's really easy to just throw into the phone and hand to someone if they're trying to do a ride along, but don't want to put goggles on or something like that. Or you got several people who all want to watch at the same time. Great little product, and it's pretty cheap as well. So I'll throw a link in the description for that. But let's get back at this. So first things first, let's replicate the problem. So I'm going to plug the original camera back in here, and then we'll power this thing up and make sure that we don't get video. Okay, we are powered up, and as you can see on the screen, we have OSD, but the actual picture itself is just black. So what that means to me is the goggles are indeed working. We are receiving signal. The video transmitter itself is indeed working because we're receiving video signal. The on-screen display and the flight controller passing video through is most likely working. It could be that the video itself isn't getting through for some reason, but the actual OSD chip is not the problem. That middleman is not the problem. So it seems very likely to me that it is either the signal from the camera to the flight controller, to that OSD chip, or it's the camera itself. And in my hunch, I'm thinking it's probably the actual camera. The way that we can confirm that is let's go ahead and grab a different camera that is known good, and we will plug that through. So first, let's just power up the blue one again. And I'll plug this camera in instead because I'm almost certain that one works because I was flying it very recently. All right. Okay, so if you see here, the blue one is indeed plugged in, and we get video here in the goggles. Yay! Okay, so let's go ahead and unplug this and unplug that, and we'll swap it over to the red one and see if we still get video. Alrighty, as you can see, we've got the blue pod plugged into the red quad. Everything's powered up, and let's take a look at the video. And the video is still black. That's actually a great sign. What that means is it's almost certainly the wiring connection between the camera and the flight controller, not the actual camera itself. That may have saved us a few bucks. Hopefully it's not the actual flight controller itself, it's just the wiring. But let's take the stack apart and see if we can dig in there and see the actual culprit. All right, so I've removed that zip tie, pulled the antenna holder off the back here, and kind of moved this stuff up. And let's just take a closer look down in here. We've got cables coming through here. I've got just a little bit of hot glue, hot snot hanging out on the front there just for some kind of strain relief. And then if we look over, there we go, right there. So the ground connection to our camera let go. If you can see that, if it'll focus. So that little guy right there is supposed to be plugged in, and if we can't complete the circuit and get power all the way through the camera and ground it as well, we're not going to get any signal from that camera because the camera itself is not actually being powered. So I need to strip back a little more of this wiring here and solder right back down to this ground pad, and we should be back in business. Alrighty, so we are back in business. That is all figured out, and we are plugged back in. So let's go ahead and plug the battery in. It's going to be fun to do one-handed. Okay, and moment of truth, looking at the goggles, yeah, we get video. Let's spin this guy over. All right, video indeed. OSD still happy, everything is still happy. Excellent, so that was that. That was nice and easy. I was actually expecting the camera itself to be broken, but it was just a wire coming through here. So I've actually had back-to-back 2 issues with wires breaking right at the end of solder joints. So I'm going to just go ahead and look through both quads here and see if I can feel anything that's, about to go loose, or any solder joints that don't look great, or any of the wires that look like they're, frayed and tired, and just go ahead and fix those up so that we don't have to deal with this kind of stuff in the future. But in theory, we just got to button these 2 quads back up and they should be ready to fly for today.